Hey everybody, it's Charlie. You may have just seen the Game of Thrones finish filming the longest battle in the show's history for a single episode, and it's twice as long as the next longest one, which was Battle of the Bastards. There's also a whole bunch of news about what's going on during convention season between Con of Thrones and Comic-Con later this summer, so I'll explain that at the end of the video. But this huge battle that they've been hyping up in the news the past week has been filming on two particular sets for the past 55 days. Twice as long to film as the next biggest battle in show's history. So let's break this down. And if you're finding me for the first time, I am doing a DVD giveaway. All you have to do to enter that, just be a subscriber and leave a comment on the video. There've also been a lot of reports about the way that they upgrade the prosthetics and the special effects that they do for these big practical battles. So like a lot of it is CG. They have a big green screen set that I'll talk about. But a really good example of the evolution of the way they do this is back during Season 6, where they'd already gotten pretty crazy, and you have episodes like The Door, where you have the Night King and the Army of the Dead penetrating the Three-Eyed Raven's tree. So you have actors in their White Walker makeup, and you have a lot of whites.
The brief is for the character, we have to be practical about things. The artist is going to be able to wear this stuff day in, day out. It's not too heavy.
Now we have the Night King on Viserion, and just the sheer size of the Army of the Dead, like the number of whites, has increased dramatically, especially by the time we get to these Season 8 battles, which largely, like this one that I'm talking about, is taking place mostly at Winterfell. I believe it'll be Episode 3, and obviously it'll be a Miguel Sapochnik episode, because that's what he's doing during Season 8, directing their really big battle episodes. But you can kind of see how big the army is at the end of Season 7 as they breach the wall. Imagine they snake down through the New Gift, past the Last Hearth, the Carhold, the Dreadfort, coincidentally all the banners that sided against House Stark in the second Battle of Winterfell. So I guess we could call this Season 8 Battle of Winterfell the third Battle of Winterfell, technically. But a lot of people reported seeing whites riding on horses, which is sort of a big upgrade, like their super version of a white. Because you go from like the Ray Harryhausen looking whites at the end of Season 4, like just pure skeletons, to the whites during Season 7 in that Beyond the Wall episode that actually look like they've gotten smarter, because you see the Hound throw that rock and you see the white look at it, consider it for a moment, and realize that the ice isn't breaking. You could argue that that's the Night King's consciousness that's actually just seeing, so it's really the Night King just seeing that through their eyes and then telling them to move forward. Or what I think is more likely, that they just made a creative choice behind the scenes, because they really have changed the rules for how whites work on the show in the past 8 seasons. Like in the way that some TV shows and movies treat zombies differently. Are they George Romero zombies? Are they Walking Dead zombies, just like mindless creatures? Are they smart zombies that run, like the Zack Snyder version? I guess you could justify whites riding horses because their forces will be so much larger by the time they get down to Winterfell. Like, you just have to imagine that anything that's alive is going to be added to the Army of the Dead, so there'll be more animals. We don't know if we're going to have another polar bear situation, because that felt like something that they had to do by itself. Like, you couldn't do polar bear in the middle of this big battle here. It would just be way too much for them to handle from a production standpoint, because the Battle of the Lake here was mostly about incorporating the dragons into the fight against the White Walkers, which is really what's going to be happening at this Battle of Winterfell, because you have both the Daenerys dragons and Viserion for the first time. So you see the need for this giant green screen set. So all the more important that Viserion breathe blue fire, because this will all be happening in the dark. That's been one of the complaints about Game of Thrones the last couple of seasons, is that for all the really amazing things they do, some of the episodes that they film at night are pitch black. So if you don't have a really good TV that's calibrated well, sometimes you have to scoot up right to the screen to see what's going on in the background. Even if they don't release like a full-blown trailer at Comic-Con this summer, I would bet that they release a special effects reel, just giving you an idea for the scope of how they're filming these big things. They've kind of done that the last couple of seasons. They've always released a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, but as the battles have gotten bigger season to season, also the ratings have gotten bigger to bigger, they've hyped that more and more. So they wind up fast-tracking a lot of that footage, especially because they can just show you the behind-the-scenes stuff without it having to go through months and months of post-production, which is part of the reason for the increased delay this year. Like, they could wind up with a Justice League situation if they don't give themselves enough time to finish the proper CG. Sort of going down the list of the biggest battles on the show. Battle of the Bastards, 25 days long. Hardhome was about 15 days. Dan and Dave say that Blackwater was 30 days of night shoots back during Season 2, mostly because it was all at night and you have fewer night hours to film than you would during the day, which is why, even though Battle of the Bastards is much bigger, it didn't take quite as long to film. And like I said, the really cool thing about this big 55-night-long shoot that they just got done filming is only for a single episode. It does not include the big battle that they'll eventually film on their King's Landing set, which even though it might be their final big battle, sounds like it won't be quite as big within the actual episode as this episode 3 Battle of Winterfell. This doesn't really tell us anything about who dies during these big battles. I know there's a lot of speculation about them shedding characters. I would expect that if they're going to be killing off secondary, smaller characters, most of that will happen during their episode 3 battle. Then most of the mains will survive to this final big battle at the King's Landing set. But like I said, they haven't started filming that yet. They will be filming episodes all the way up to June, and then the rest of the year is basically them finishing post-production. So that is why we will probably start getting footage at Comic-Con, but I'm only expecting behind-the-scenes stuff. I'm not expecting any completed trailers, but I have a feeling that HBO's marketing department and the Game of Thrones producers are cherry-picking footage, so just expect that to start rolling out during the summer, because this will probably be their longest promotional campaign that they've ever done. Just remember how they hyped up Season 7. It took a little longer to start getting footage from that, but in total, they dropped way more footage than they did before previous seasons. So no worries there, and I don't think I mentioned it before, but HBO did confirm that they would be spending more money per episode producing the prequel series when we eventually get to that than they did on the main series. So if you think Season 6 through Season 8 of Game of Thrones is really big, just imagine the prequel series being even bigger. The first real big convention of the season, though, is going to be Con of Thrones. That's going to be at the end of May. And right now, their guest list is Gendry, Gilly, Shay, Lysa Arryn, Jeor Mormont, Syrio Forel, Roz, young Hodor is coming back. He was at Con of Thrones last season, and they had Ramsay Bolton last season too, so they'll probably be expanding their guest list as we get closer. If you haven't gone in the past, Con of Thrones is just a Game of Thrones specific convention. The Watchers and the Wall people are involved. There's a lot of familiar faces from the Game of Thrones community. Usually that's where you get a lot of behind-the-scenes details. HBO doesn't have a real big presence there. They save most of their stuff for Comic-Con in San Diego, which will be later in July. But leave all your requests for bonus videos in the comments below. And I'll say congratulations to the latest giveaway winner, Gemini Star. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. Click here for my Gendry Arya video, and click here for brand new Avengers Infinity War. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.